Okay. Where did you live at a gym?
No, I have a little exercise room in my house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just do, where do you want me to sit?
Oh, anywhere there's fine. Let me grab my notebook over here.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
How are you? I mean, under the circumstances, of course. I'm Vince Weiber.
Hi, nice. Are you detectives?
Yes, detective also.
Schuster had not been seen since Wednesday night when he left a friend's house in Fresno. Police believe Schuster made it back to his house in Clovis. Investigators found his car in the garage and no sign of problems.
Is he alive? Is he dead? What's your gut feeling?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are you the type of person that could have anything to do with him missing?
No, not at all. No, I don't. I can't.
They were both what appeared to be in love with each other, and then it just slowly deteriorated.
And she hated him. It was her money. They were her kids. That was her house.
I'll tell you why I do what I want to do, because I put all that damn money in there. I hate your guts so bad I can't even stand you. I hope you burn in hell.
I know that all he wanted was to be able to spend time with his kids, to have a life. She wasn't going to allow that to happen, no matter what.
Tim and Larissa Schuster were a happy married couple at first. We know that they met in Missouri, where Larissa had grown up. She had attended the University of Missouri. That's where she studied biochemistry. And she was actually working in a nursing home around the time that she met Timothy Schuster, who'd been going through nursing school. And they ended up getting married in 1982. She's described it, again, as a happy marriage. They had their first child, their daughter, in 1985. And then it was a few years later when they moved to Fresno. Shortly after getting to Fresno, that's when they had their son, who was born in 1990. They were both just sort of raising their family, working on their careers.
Larissa was a biochemist, and she owned her own chemical company where she would analyze soil and other things. Very intelligent woman.
She would give the shirt off her back, if it was the last shirt she had, to somebody. That's how nice she was.
So Tim Schuster worked for St. Agnes Medical Center, and he was known as being very punctual, and friends felt that he was very just easygoing and a nice man.
Tim did everything. Tim did the cooking, he did the cleaning, because Larissa was so set on opening up this lab.
The lab almost became her baby as well, and she just put so much energy and attention into that Tim really became more of the primary caretaker at home.
When I first started doing Larissa's nails, Tim would actually come into the salon to bring her something to eat, or bring her her favorite juice, or bring her coffee. And he would come in, he'd lay it on there, and she would say, "Oh, thank you, honey." And he'd lean over, give her a kiss, and says, "I'll see you at home, I'm gonna go pick up the kids." That's just the kind of person, very thoughtful, very thoughtful. That was just him.
Tim was such a good person. He was that type of guy.
I thought it was the best marriage. I mean, and she never complained, never complained. It was not until after she went to this conference and she came back, it was not the same person. She came back a totally different person. She told me she met a man there. She goes, "We slept together and it was the best thing that I've ever had, the best sex." And then she started telling me how this marriage was never going to be and that she couldn't stand him. And then that's when she started using the term capon.
Look it up in a dictionary.
I didn't know what that meant, so one day I asked her, I said, what does capon mean? And she said, it's a castrated rooster. And she laughed, and she says, that's my new nickname for Tim. She was saying, if Tim thinks he's gonna get a penny of my money, he's sadly mistaken. And I said, Larissa, he gets 50%. And she whipped around in her chair, she looked at me, she slammed both of her hands down on my table, and she said, I will see him dead before he gets a penny of my money, and I know people who can do it. And then in that instant, she plopped back on the seat, and she goes, so, what color do you think we're gonna do today? And that quick of an eye, yes.
I remember one time we were sitting in my office. He got a call on his cell phone, and it was her. The next moment, she just starts yelling and screaming.
And I'll tell you what, this is going to come back to haunt you, because your kids, you talk about me alienating your kids, you're doing a damn good job yourself. And you just wait, it's coming, sweetheart.
And he would tell her, I'm gonna hang up. And so then he'd hang up and she'd call right back, because that wasn't something he had ever done.
Tim was just a big guy, and he was deathly afraid of Larissa. Tim had told me that last time I talked to him, he said, I took out a concealed weapon permit. And I said, why would you do that? And he said, because Larissa had made some threats. Then that's when he told me, if anything ever happens to me, you know it's not an accident, it's Larissa.
A missing persons investigation led Clovis police to security public storage. Inside, a gruesome discovery.
You want to have a seat over here? Sure. You spell your last name F-A-G-O-N-E, is that correct? And James is your real first name?
So James Fagoni was a young employee of Larissa Schuster, and the way it's described is that he was her babysitter. He did a lot of things for her just beyond being a young employee of hers.
He does anything she wants him to, and she's told me about this James guy. Oh, he does anything I want him to. If I asked him to crawl on all fours, he'd crawl on all fours.
And do you have an idea why we asked you here today?
Yeah, my parents said because of Mr. Schuster was missing. They said they read it in the news and everything.
Tim Schuster was known for being neat and on time. So when he failed to show up for an appointment, his friends knew something wasn't right and reported him missing.
And we waited for Tim. He didn't show up. So I called a very good friend of ours to go over to Tim's house and see if he was still there, and if he was, they're waiting for him here. Kept knocking on the door. No Tim.
So the call comes in, his car's not gone, his property's not gone, his keys are still there. There's a lot of odd signs, and there just wasn't any big red flag at the very beginning.
I walked in the house and we put on the news, like I said, and there's Tim's picture. And I didn't realize that I said it out loud, but I said, she killed him. And my husband looks at me and goes, what?
The first interview was done on the 11th in the late evening hours with Larissa. The two detectives that were interviewing her had some concerns about some of her answers.
The last incoming phone call at his house was your cell phone number.
Okay,
And
but I
I'm
have
trying
called
to, right, I'm trying to clarify that.
I remember waking up on the couch and I had my cell phone and it looked like I might have hit a number or something and think I must have rolled over and hit a button or something. I don't know, but I didn't think any more of it.
Is your cell phone here? Do you have your cell phone?
No, I don't. I don't have it here.
Where's your cell phone at?
I have it at home.
At home?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought that was unusual. The detectives that were interviewing her thought that was unusual. Were able to get her cell phone number, step outside of the front of the police department where her car was parked, and call her cell phone, which was in the front seat of her car ringing.
And to sit here and tell me that it was accidentally dialed in your sleep and you flipped it up and then it was there and then, oh my gosh, I accidentally just deleted it. I've been doing this a long, long time.
That was probably one of the first aha moments at the beginning of this case.
Some of Larissa's workers told police she mentioned she would like to see Tim dead and asked one employee if he thought she would be able to fit Tim's body in a large blue plastic drum that's kept at the business for storing waste chemicals.
We began to interview some of the people that worked for her and found out that at one point she had requested one of her employees to go rent a mini storage unit under their name, but she would be willing to pay for it. A lot of things are pointing towards Larissa, but there's no good hard evidence at this time.
Early this morning, detectives searched a unit at Security Public Storage. Inside, a gruesome discovery.
We sent a detective out just to the storage unit to just take a look around, and he called me. The first thing he said is, "It smells really bad here." And before I could even say anything, it smells like there could be a dead body out here. Once I got there, it was very evident to me what the odor was. We opened up the storage unit. There was a 55-gallon blue plastic barrel. I walked over, undid the metal strap that goes around the top of the barrel, and lifted up the top of the barrel, and immediately noticed human remains inside of the barrel. The smells were horrific. There was obviously a caustic chemical of some sort. We weren't sure exactly what it was at the time, but the body was floating in it, and there were certain portions of the body that I could positively identify as human body parts.
We believe the deceased that the coroner's office is performing the autopsy on is Mr. Schuster.
But police didn't wait for test results. They have charged Schuster's wife, Larissa, and her employee, 21-year-old James Fagone, with homicide. Detectives from Clovis and Fresno arrested Larissa Schuster this morning at the airport in St. Louis. She and her 12-year-old son were arriving there to visit her parents. She is in custody, and efforts are underway to return her to California to face homicide charges. Fagone is likely to be the key witness in this case. Police say he voluntarily provided them with information yesterday.
And he was able to describe some specific details about this incident that nobody would know unless they were there.
Can you tell me? Just tell me. Tell me what happened.
I was gonna go over there to rob the place with her, and then I told him, ended up, there being more than that.
Larissa called Tim in the late night, early morning hours and made up a story about their son being sick and needing to go to the hospital. She was at his house when this call was made from her cell phone at the front door. And Tim opens the door. He's immediately met by Larissa and James Fagone.
It didn't feel like I was really there, Like I didn't believe it was really gonna happen.
As he opened the door, James Fagone used a stun gun on him. They sort of wrestled to the ground inside of his house. Larissa goes in, she uses chloroform to then knock him out. And together the two of them basically dragged his body on a piece of plastic, got him into a truck, and drove him to Larissa's house.
It sounded like he was still breathing, so I was like, okay, she's gonna rough him up a little bit or something, smack him around, and then leave him somewhere.
And Tim is placed in the blue barrel, still unconscious, and then acid is poured inside the barrel with Tim in it.
I was like, I can't believe you're doing this, and blah, 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 some crap, it's just like, shut up, just keep it quiet, nothing will happen, I'll make sure everything's all right.
Larissa makes some phone calls to some friends of hers at work and says that she needs to get a U-Haul rental truck. Her friends say, sure, we'll help you get that. And a U-Haul truck is rented. The barrel is now placed in the U-Haul truck and then taken to the storage unit in Fresno.
She's a biochemist and wealthy Clovis businesswoman, but today Larissa Schuster is an inmate answering to charges she kidnapped and murdered her ex-husband.
Our trial went first, and what James told the police involved evidence that the DA could not introduce against Larissa Schuster. In other words, it's hearsay, but it was all over the front page of the Fresno Bee. It was on the news, it was on Channel 30, And so the argument that Mr. Nuttall made on her behalf was we need a change of venue because the jury pool's been contaminated. I would have made the same motion. That motion was properly granted, but because ours went first and theirs was following, they received a change of venue.
James Fagoni wore a dark suit and spoke in a soft voice. He said Larissa Schuster ultimately forced him to help her the night Schuster's husband Timothy was robbed and murdered at his house in 2003. Under intense cross-examination on the witness stand, Fagoni said killing Tim Schuster wasn't part of the plan. The prosecutor asked, "When did you figure out Mrs. Schuster wanted her husband dead?" Fagoni said, "When she killed him."
Why would he do this for her?
At several times we asked if there was ever any type of a romantic relationship between the two, and both of them denied it. Adamantly denied that there was ever any romance between the two of them. And he did things for her, and she provided him with money whenever he needed it. There was even a time we looked where she would advance him money up into the thousands of dollars. If he asked for it, she would just give it to him.
It did seem that James Fagoni may have been scared of Larissa Schuster, kind of seeing the things that she had done, the way that she spoke to him and to other people, the way she had been going after her husband during the divorce, sort of an intimidation factor of feeling like he needed to do what she said.
Now, James's trial, local, represented by a public defender, found guilty, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
21 years old.
Yeah. He had his hopes and dreams. That's what I told the jury. And so.
This is a working copy of the reports from the homicide. This goes everything from photographs that were taken at the scene to forensic reports that were done on her computers, coroner's reports, all the different agencies that helped with this. There's a copy of each of their reports in here for us to go back and use. And when we went to trial, we had all of this with us, plus all the evidence. And because it was a trial that was out of town with the change of venue, we had to have all of this easily accessible.
The Van Nuys Courthouse is more than 200 miles from Fresno. Here, Schuster's attorneys hope to find an unbiased jury.
This was a trial that spanned 7 weeks. There were so many witnesses called, from friends of Larissa to friends of Tim. Larissa's former cellmate testified.
Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
I can please be seated.
Larissa Schuster testified in her own defense. She denied killing her estranged husband, Tim Schuster. Larissa Schuster blamed it on James Fagoni, a man already convicted of the murder.
There had been an accident and that Tim was dead and that they had killed him.
But she also testified a day after the murder, she still trusted Fagoni and asked him to babysit.
At no time ever did I think that James would hurt Tyler in any way possible.
She's a smart, well-spoken person. She had over 3 years in jail to think about this. When she got on the stand, she did a fairly good job of being able to communicate and make up a little bit of story and not be completely truthful.
We, the jury, in above entitled action, find a defendant, Larissa Schuster, guilty of violation of Section 187 of the Penal Code, first-degree murder of Timothy Schuster.
Larissa Schuster expressed very little emotion, but behind her, Timothy Schuster's mother smiled.
I know my family's smiling right now, and as well as Tim.
The defendant's mother left the courthouse crying, declining to comment to the media.
Jurors in the Larissa Schuster murder trial say their decision was difficult, but their verdict was just.
Yes, it was graphic. Yes, it was horrible. And we all agreed 100% on the verdict.
But the jurors implied they did not sympathize with Larissa Schuster when she took the stand in her own defense.
There were difficulties with her testimony. And that's all I'm going to say.
Do you think she's evil?
Yes, absolutely. You know, to be able to do something that she did and have no remorse And she just didn't want him alive anymore. She would rather be known as a widow than a divorcee.
It's hard to know what was going on in her head. I know that all he wanted was to be able to spend time with his kids, do the things that he wanted to do with the people he enjoyed. She wasn't going to allow that to happen, no matter what. His children lost their father, and he lost his life and the opportunity to continue his profession as a nurse and his personal life as a father, a son, and a friend. James made a choice, and his choice ended Tim's life. His choice left Bob and me without our friend. And that was essentially the same message that we delivered to Larissa, because again, she made a choice. And what she was trying to achieve, she didn't really totally achieve. Though he's gone, his memory isn't, but she's lost everything. So what she wanted to happen to him, she allowed to happen to herself.
Something like hope is the remedy.